moving on, sticking with Chinese players. Obviously, now we're switching to the mixed doubles, and I want to talk about Feng and Wang Dongping because 3 consecutive tournaments they played in a row, and they reached 3 consecutive finals, and they've won the last 2. They won the 2 Super 750s, Denmark last week and France this week. That's a pretty outstanding achievement. You know, I already spoke right in the introduction that the conditions on this European leg have been quite slow, which always makes things quite tough, much more brutal. You're going to get a lot more longer rallies. I think I saw, to quickly change it, in some of the men's doubles matches, a lot of 40-plus shot rallies, which you just never see. So that's kind of a testament and should give you a good idea of just how slow some of the conditions were. So the fact that regardless of these slow conditions, they were able to reach 3 consecutive finals and win 2 of them. A lot of credit is credit when credit needs to be due. And I think actually talking of the fatigue, I did see a little bit of that this week in France. They looked pretty tired in their semi-final win over Tang Chunman and Saying Sweat, but managed to dig deep. And then in their final, earlier today actually, because I'm recording this just after the finals were finished, against Dichapon and Subsara, they started rather slow. I think they went 8-2 down pretty quickly, and they were looking a little bit fatigued, a little bit tired, but they managed to get themselves back into it. And once they did, actually, I would say it was almost like their fatigue washed away. They looked more energetic. They more kind of energy inside them. And I think one of the big things that was quite key in their win over the Thai pair was that they were stepping forward onto absolutely everything, especially in defence. And I think that's something in a lot of the doubles events, especially this week in France and last week as well. Pairs that were successful were the ones that were that little bit more looking to come onto the front foot when they defended, taking it to them. Because I think a lot of times it's quite hard to just directly attack through someone. Like I said, the shuttles were quite slow, the conditions quite slow. So to create maybe easy opportunities is to step in and really apply a lot of pressure. You might get something from that. And I think Feng and Wang did that pretty well. I'll be honest, I think Wang Dongping, once she came alive after that 8-2 down, she almost had boundless energy, like she hadn't played 3 weeks in a row. And actually, I think that it plays into her personality, because I know, again, I spoke to Christian Luque, and he said Wang Dongping's the kind of player that if she could play 10 hours every day. She just absolutely loves it. She's very competitive, just loves playing badminton. So I'm not surprised that she's part of a pair that have thrived or done so well off the back of consecutive weeks and consecutive tournaments. So yeah, it has been a brutal 3 weeks for them, but they've managed to come away with those 2 titles. Before I move on, I definitely want to talk about, I've spoken about this pair a few times, especially obviously been more focused on Feng Yanze. You know, when they first were a pair, they made a bit of a splash. Actually, I think it was at the Denmark Open like 4 years ago they reached a final. And obviously they've steadily become one of the top pairs in the world. They're currently world number 2s. But there was always that thing against Feng Yanze of how he can handle the big situations, the pressure matches. And over the last couple of years, especially relatively recently, like most notably even this year at the Sudirman Cup, where he proved a little bit that he can handle that he is starting to get a little bit this. And other areas that I think that he's improved upon since when I first saw him is his ability to find the gaps, do the little cross-court soft touches. I think he's also added to it from watching him over the last couple of weeks. He looks more stable. He's very, very tall, and I think obviously that has its advantages, but you can be twisted and turned. Your agility and mobility around the court can be exposed, and he's got far better at that. He's developed footworks and tactics where he doesn't lose his position. He does a lot of left leg lunging on his backhand so that he can maintain a kind of more open position, so he can kind of reach across and then use his height rather than step over and get twisted and turned. And I think he's definitely looking a lot stronger in his lower body and his core. He can maintain that really well, and he was doing a lot of those even in this final. Like he'd reach across pressure, and then he can like lean across and whip it cross court. So he definitely looks a lot more stable. He did seem this week to be hitting it harder, definitely hitting more winners in this final than I've seen from him in a while. And like I said, I think on terms of defence, a lot more positive stepping forward. Now, I did speak about at the start of this little section on his improvements that I do feel he's got a little better at how he handles certain pressures, but there's still that doubt over this pair. They've just done 3 back-to-back finals, and I think this is actually their 9th final this so far in 2025, and it's Feng Yanzhe's 11th because he actually got to 2 finals with Wei Yaxin, the All England and the Swiss Open, because obviously China were playing around with the mixed pairs at the start of the year. But let's not forget the World Championships, where they were one of the favourites. They fell, I think, in the second or third round to Matthias Christiansen and Alexandre Boe. So you could still see that as there's question marks against them at the majors. You could probably put that over to the other Chinese pair as well. Obviously, Zhang Tingbang and Wei Xin lost to Christiansen and Boe actually here in France, but they'd reached the final of the previous 2 tournaments. So again, on the regular World Tour, China have got 2 pairs that are very, very consistent and can win the majority of the tournaments, if not pretty much all of them. But when it comes to majors, these pairs are struggling to win the golds, etc. So there's still that doubt, and I think heading into obviously next year when you've got another World Championships and I think Asian Games as well, it'd be quite interesting to see how this pair do at those tournaments. So yeah, like I said, there's still doubts there at the biggest majors, but let's put that to the side for now and just kind of appreciate the effort and congratulate Feng and Wang on what an incredible European tour they've had with 3 back-to-back finals and 2 titles out of those 3.